How did you get over suicidal thoughts? Serious? My friend committed suicide. The fallout made me realize it's not just a solo experience. When I was about 14, I was super depressed and I heard voices and was off the charts paranoid. I had been later diagnosed with depressive psychosis, paranoia, clinical depression and multiple panic disorders. My mother was taking my sister and our exchange student to the city, and my father was at work and I had no friends left. I basically was alone regardless, considering I had stupidly ditched all my friends for a boy and even he was away on holiday. I wrote my note and stuffed it into my back pocket and tied my rope. I tied the end to the top of my stairwell balcony and stood on the steps below and jumped into the noose. My little body swung up there for about 10 seconds before the rope snapped and I fell to the ground, sobbing that I couldn't even kill myself properly. That was about the 5th time I attempted, and after that I realized that there must be more of a purpose for me if I could never do it right regardless of swallowing chemicals and getting into terrible accidents. I'm happy now and fine to a degree, but the cold winters bring cabin fever. Got a better job. That's pretty much it. Still depressed, but I'm not sleeping on a couch in someone's living room anymore. My issues had to do with anxiety. I was having intrusive obsessive thoughts. I realized that ending the thoughts was a much better solution than ending my life. I thought of all the things I'd miss and people I'd hurt, and that made me focus on dealing with my problem rather than avoiding it. TBH, I never have. Some days are better than others, and occasionally I will even go a long stretch without them, but they seem to always return. But then again, I think mine are in part a byproduct of partial complex epilepsy. I have a little brother. My parents, well, don't really parent him. I feel like I raise him. I consider suicide more than often I could easily do it. I have 11 guns in my house. But I always stop myself. Knowing my little brother would grow up to be nothing without me is unsettling. Identify triggers or situations that lead to feelings of despair or generate suicidal thoughts, such as an anniversary of a loss, alcohol, or stress from relationships. Find ways to avoid these places, people, or situations. Take care of yourself. Eat right, don't skip meals, and get plenty of sleep. In the moment or long term? I'll answer both, I guess. For me, what had always kept me from killing myself in the moment was the realization that I couldn't do so without hurting someone else. My family, my dog, yeah I know, haha, but she's seriously the most important thing in my life, or at the very least the person who discovered my body, or in one case hit me with their truck. Longer term was more complicated. My depression never really stemmed from the idea that I wasn't loved. That just didn't make sense. I was 25 and still living with my parents who had bent over backwards to care for me and provide for me my whole life. They didn't have to do that. What I couldn't understand was why. I had done nothing to deserve their attention. I couldn't even finish college or hold a job. What made me worth it to them? I was praying about it one night. Sorry if you're not religious, but I am, and I realized that love isn't a thing to be deserved. It's a gift, not some kind reward for being a good person. So what if I'd had trouble getting my feet under me? So what if I had a mental illness that made me not worth loving? It didn't matter. That change in my thinking started me down a path of recovery that I never thought I'd see. I'm not fully there yet. I've got a lot of struggling left to do, and I imagine that I'll never be completely free of it, but at least I can function, and I can feel something besides confused and alone. I'm even going back to college in the spring. TLDR, short term, realizing that suicide always causes collateral damage. Long term, realizing that people don't need a reason to love you, it's just a thing that they do. There is no problem in this world that's worth taking one's life for. Always keep your cared ones in your mind. The guilt they'll have to live with thinking they are responsible for your death. There's a saying that always keeps me going: these mountains that you are carrying, you were only supposed to climb. I'm a psychotherapist, and it took me a while, so firstly patience for yourself, then if you got them a group of family and friends to hang out with, you don't even need to tell them. I didn't, we just hanged out having a good time, and same for myself, doing things that I like, doesn't have to be much, took a little ride on my motorcycle, ate my favorite burger, played my favorite video game, on my road trip I wrote letters with the things that I was thinking and buried them. On the therapist side of me I knew that suicidal thoughts are lots of repressed anger, so I began to anger myself, express that anger even though I was not feeling it, acting it out if you like. Little by little the anger was beginning to feel a lot more mine, more authentic. It didn't even was in front of the people I was mad with at first. In my case I ended up giving a piece of my mind to them all, but that was later on. What helped me the most was letting my anger out. Hope it helps. TLDR, suicidal thoughts are repressed anger. What helped me was expressing that anger. To the world you may be one person, but to one person, you can be the world. I couldn't harm my single mother of two anymore after what she's been through. To avoid suicidal thoughts I would always think that only weak and selfish people kill themselves. And I don't want to be statistic of how many teenagers kill themselves. I just think about how expensive funerals are. Lituta. Life will go on without me. So why shouldn't I go on too? I know that each person has their own problems. And these thoughts won't go away. Daily I tell myself it'll be easier if I wasn't here, it would just end and I'd just sleep forever. Never feel any pain, never hurt anyone, nothing, it's just over. But then I think to myself, I'm a son of two parents who aren't the best but they love me. And I'm a big brother who is to tell him how to fight or how to love or how to just be a man. I've always been the man in my little brother's life. So if I leave my little brother behind, who is there for him? I still have the thoughts daily, try to kill myself twice, and each time I think of my brother when I'm blacking out and I wake up and I see my family, and it's the love that keeps me going. Love is a factor that makes us human, it makes us survive and basically fight through anything. I just want to extend the love and help anyone who doesn't feel love. No one should have to go through their life unloved or abandoned from close ones. If this helped at all, I'm glad I could speak to you, but if it didn't and you just need someone to talk to, you can message me. I don't have nothing going on, so yay, thanks for letting me rant. These are called intrusive thoughts. I remind myself that they are intrusive. I am a recovering depressive, think recovering alcoholic. I will always have these thoughts, but like thoughts of drinking, they can be recognized for what they are. Once identified, the problem becomes easier, not simple, but easier, to manage. For me, it was a long, tough process, but I'm still here in the end. Once I'd found a means of committing suicide, I started thinking maybe I should wait. After this thought got me from one day to the next, I started putting together what life factors made me miserable that I could change. Some of them weren't within my control, but I could change how I reacted and thought about the world. I started telling the people around me that I knew I had a problem, I was fixing it, and asked them to hold me accountable for the things I wanted to change. Eventually I got out of the rut with these steps. Find something else to think about. For me, I had drugs occupy my mind, then the gym, hung out with some friends I made doing those, and eventually I talked to my parents about it so I could have support at home and talk to my mom about it. I pretty much decided to take my life into my own two hands. Rather than staying depressed, I would do whatever it takes to improve my own life regardless of the risk. My stance on suicide for myself has always been this. If it's ever bad enough that I want to kill myself, I'd rather just forget everything I'm doing, sell everything I own, and just go somewhere far away and experience new things. Make a new life. What I did was just play my instruments. I would get drowned into the music and I would have forgotten the thoughts for a while. Death is scary. Just when I feel low to the point of needing a boost, I force myself to give my mom a hug and it brings me up to reality, or anyone for that matter. Just a decently long hug. I thought how unfair it would be to my parents. I talked about it with my parents and just the slight hope that maybe things will get better. Surprise, they are. I hit rock bottom, landed myself in yet another hospital visit, and finally saw how much I had hurt the people around me. From that day, I made a promise to myself I'd never land that low again. I live my life for me now. I live up to my own expectations. My advice: travel. Get out. Go see the world. Once you see the beauty out there, the ugly parts you've been focusing on fade away.